Well, good evening, everyone. I am going to call this meeting to order. This is the December 11th, 2024 meeting of the City of Pasco Hearing Examiner. My name is Andy Kottkamp, and I've been appointed by the City of Pasco to serve as a land use hearing examiner. My job is to render decisions and at times recommended decisions on various items that are authorized to come before me. I'll consider any testimony and evidence presented at today's hearing, as well as all the written materials that are already on file in order to make my decisions. The hearing process does have certain rules. I will try to conduct the meeting in a relaxed and informal manner, but we still have a procedure we're going to use. For each item, staff will present their report and make whatever recommendations they wish to make. Next, the applicants or the applicant's representative will be given an opportunity to present their testimony and evidence. The applicant does have the burden of proof to show compliance with all the applicable rules and regulations. Next, if any member of the public is here to testify on any matter, you'll be given that chance to do so. And if there is any testimony in opposition to the project we're talking about, I will give the applicant an opportunity to submit rebuttal testimony. Because the applicant has the burden of proof, it's important that everyone understand that the applicant gets the last opportunity to present testimony and evidence. Now, as we get to each item on the agenda, if you are going to provide testimony, I will have you, if you're in the hearing room, come on up to the podium and state your name and address. After we get through with the folks that are in the hearing room, then we'll turn online. If anybody else on that particular matter wants to provide testimony, if you are going to provide testimony, I'll have you state your name and address, and then I will swear you in as a witness. I'd ask that you keep your testimony relevant to the matter that we're talking about and not to other issues beyond the scope of the proposal. I have the option on each of these items to keep the record open if I think there's a need for additional written testimony to be submitted. But in any event, my written decision will be made within 10 working days, or recommended decision will be made within 10 working days after I close the public record. Now, except as I should note that on the zone change matters, those are recommendations that I will be making the Pasco City Council. Those decisions of mine are not appealable because they're not a final decision. The final decision will come from City Council, and it is the City Council's decision that will be final. The important thing to remember is that the hearing in front of the Pasco City Council will be what's called a closed record hearing. So there's not going to be any more public testimony on those zone change requests. All that testimony is going to come in today. And then all the file materials and the hearing transcripts will be given to the City Council for their review. And then they will conduct, as I indicated, a closed record public hearing. And then they will make their decision at that time. For the other items on today's agenda, my decision on each of those matters will be final and conclusive unless they are appealed. Appeals are by means of a land use petition action. They have to be filed within 21 days of the date of the issuance of my decision. Those are filed with Franklin County Superior Court. And if the appeal isn't timely filed, the appeal would be barred. Now, I've reviewed each item on today's agenda. I don't have any interest in any of the properties or the proposals to be heard today. I will be able to fairly and objectively consider each item. And outside of receiving and reviewing the staff report and all the file materials that were sent to me attached to that staff report, I've not had any discussions regarding the material aspects of any of these items that are on today's agenda. I did have some discussions on logistics on the matter that we're going to consider first, but that was by email exchanges between the parties. So, but anyway, I've not had any communication that, regarding any of the matters that are on today's agenda. And so with those representations, if there is anybody here today who objects to my participation as the hearing examiner for any of these items, if you have an objection, you need to come forward and state so at this time. I don't see the hearing room. So somebody's going to have to tell me if anybody's up there. I don't see anybody unmuting themselves here.
Nobody.
So I'm going to consider. All right, thank you very much. So we'll turn to the, what I'm going to do is on the agenda is I'm going to take the last item first. This is the item that I had some email exchanges on. This is a preliminary plat application, given application number PP 2022-007. Today, a little after 3 o'clock, I received some legal briefing from the applicant. And then again, at just before 5 p.m., I received additional information from the applicant. Based upon my receipt of those items, the hearing examiner is sui sponte, which means on my own, I'm going to continue this matter. I have notified the parties by email that I am going to continue this matter. I'm going to state how I'm going to consider it or continue it, and then if somebody has any objection, they can state their objections for the record at that time. But I am going to continue this to the regularly scheduled hearing date of January 8, 2025. I'm going to set a briefing schedule that the city will have until December 27th, 2024 to submit any response that it wishes to all the materials that were submitted today, not only including Mr. Carmody's letter, but also materials that were submitted by Mr. Padvorek at 4:53 this afternoon. So that will happen by 5 p.m. on December 27th, and then I will give the applicant until 5 p.m. January 6th to submit its reply. I will assume that after that reply is received, that there won't be any more materials that'll be submitted at the last second on this matter, and we can have this hearing on January 8th. So I'll start with the city. Does the city understand this continuance, have any objection, or have any questions about this?
Good evening, Mr. Examiner. Bob Sturbank from Foster Garvey on behalf of the city of Pasco. The city has no objection to the continuance, although we did want the record to be clear that the city was not requesting it, but have no objection to the continuance with respect, and we appreciate the time and the schedule that the examiner has outlined for us to provide a written response both to Mr. Carmody's submittal and to Mr. Podvorek's. Having briefly been able to scroll through, especially the latter, I don't know if the examiner has had a chance to, it is extensive. And although it appears that there are 4 attachments that were provided, one of those itself has 19 sub-exhibits to it, all of which are multi-pages. And in light of that, and the fact that the holiday is coming up and is just before the deadline that the examiner has outlined, the city would ask for a close of business close of business Monday, December 30th, I believe it is, to be the deadline for the city's submittal rather than the 27th. Yeah, it is Monday the 30th. So we would make that request.
All right, thank you. Again, I can't see the hearing room, but is Mr. Carmody or somebody there on behalf of the applicant? Good evening, Mr. Carmody.
It's red. Does that mean it's on? Yeah. All right. Can you hear me all right?
Well, you sound like you're in a tunnel.
Is that better?
Red is on.
Red is on?
Yeah. Cut it back.
And so I'm still in the tunnel?
No, you're much better now.
All right.
Stay close to the microphone. I know who you are, but if you could identify yourself for the record.
Yes.
And then I'll hear you out on this continuance.
For the record, my name's James Carmody. I represent Dave Swisher and EE Properties, the applicant for the Plat that was under consideration. I'm comfortable with the fact that you continue to and understand it. I think I want to provide you with just a little bit of context because this wasn't a last minute filing that we had. We were responding to materials that we saw for the first time a week ago tonight, and that was the letter from Mr. Sturbank. Mr. Sturbank had 6 months to prepare that letter and prepare that position from the time of our communications with the city, and we had tried to push and maintain relationships and move this matter forward. There were errors in the staff report submittal Wednesday night. We didn't get a final staff report until late Friday. So we scrambled over the weekend, the last 2 days, to get materials responding to those totally unexpected submissions by the city. So we were scrambling. The delay or the filing time was a monumental effort for us to get that information before you tonight. And that was not something that was a problem that we created in this situation. I understand the January 8th hearing date, that is fine. I disagree, and I would ask for some different adjustments than what Mr. Sturbank requested. He requested that his response date, which is already more significant than we've been provided at any time in this case, be moved closer so that it's filing on December 20th so that we can respond. I have 2 major responses due to the Pollution Control Hearing Board on December 30th. I have a Court of Appeals brief on a major piece of litigation due January 3rd. I have hearings set in between then, or between now and then. My schedule is tight, so is each of the others. So we would ask to have some reasonable equal period to deal with the response to whatever they file. It's their issues that were raised, and those were their issues that were addressed by us. So they should be familiar with them, they should have a factual basis for them, and they should have been through the materials prior to this point. So I'd ask that the hearing, that their response be provided to us on December 20th. We would respond on January 6th. What day of the week is the 6th? I don't.
Monday. It's a Monday.
That would be Monday the 6th would be fine. I think I'd also be prepared to provide something to you on the preceding Friday if that helps your review prior to the hearing on the 8th. And if there's materials to go through, which there are, although the issues are pretty straightforward and pretty simple, I want to make sure you have sufficient time to look at it as well. So those would be our comments and requests.
All right.
Mr. Examiner, might I respond very briefly?
If it's about what happened in the past, that doesn't really matter to me.
I would just like the record to be clear that I was brought on to assist the city only very recently, and only because the applicant had submitted at least 5, to my count, and probably more memoranda to which the applicant was demanding a written response, and some of those came in early November, and so that was the genesis of the letter that Mr. Carmody is talking about. It was prepared at his client's request to answer his client's questions. With respect to the time, again, given the volume that's been put out, I would respectfully renew the request for December 30th. And if Mr. Carmody's schedule is as busy as he has outlined, it sounds like the applicant is asking perhaps for a continuance, not to the January 8th date, but to some future date. And if that's what they're asking for, the city is certainly willing to entertain reasonable requests. But December 20th, in light of the amount that's just been dumped on us, is an unreasonable request. Thank you.
So here's what I'm going to do. And I think it's, in my mind, it's a pretty reasonable thing to do. I'm going to stick with my dates. City has until December 27th at 5 p.m. and the applicant has until 5 p.m. January 6th to submit a reply. Either side, if you need one, can request a continuance. I agree with Mr. Carmody. The issues raised on my first review of his letter that I got today, they're not novel legal principles that he's talking about. So, but it is complicated, and it does turn out to be factually specific. So, if there is a need by either the applicant or the city for a continuance, then that's going to have to be raised by a formal motion, if you will, that could be served by email, and then and then I will respond to that on a timely basis, and we'll get make a decision on that request. So, Mr. Carmody, your schedule sounds daunting, and but I also understand your client has been involved in this for over 2 years
That's right.
and would like to have some resolution to this, but whether it happens in January or February, that's, I'm not sure how much difference that will make, but I do want to give you that opportunity, Mr. Carmody and Mr. Sturbank, if there is, once everybody gets into reviewing all of the information and you say, holy smokes, I need more time, then we'll raise that issue at that time. All right, Mr. Carmody, anything final?
Yes, we'll meet your schedule. We're not going to request a continuance. This project is about a year over the due dates on what they should have processed it. And we're not going to delay any further. I will accept that responsibility. Just to clarify, I wasn't blaming Mr. Sturbank. I suspected that he was in the position that he just explained to us. What's frustrating is providing and addressing and identifying these issues starting in March of 2024 and getting zero response substantively from the city. At least with the efforts in early November, they were able to get legal counsel on board and move this forward finally. But we will meet your schedule. You may get emails from me at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever, but we will meet that schedule.
Well, there's a chance I might respond to it at 1 o'clock in the morning too. So,
I know that.
so anyway, are you clear on everything, Mr. Sturbank?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Examiner.
All right, thank you very much. There will not be the need for any additional notices to be provided about this hearing on this matter because it's been continued at this duly noticed open record public hearing. So I'll see you all on January 8th at 6 p.m. All right, we'll turn to the second item on today's agenda, and this one is also a little different than what we normally have. This is SP 2024-016. It's a special permit requesting permission to operate a church from an existing building on property located within the city of Pasco. That's more specifically described in the staff report as well as in all those application materials. Now, we opened this hearing originally at a hearing on November 13th, 2024. We went through the whole staff presentation. And when we called up the applicant to testify, the applicant indicated that they did not speak English, did not understand English, and needed an interpreter. I did have some public testimony that I allowed, and I'm going to state on the record that testimony was from, I'll probably mispronounce your name, sir, but Leo Perales. That testimony will be incorporated into the record at this point of the hearing, but I'm going to basically start the staff report from scratch so that the interpreter can interpret for the applicant what the staff is saying, and then we'll have the applicant provide whatever testimony they wish to. And if there's additional public testimony, I will allow that, and then I will have the applicant have any rebuttal testimony that they wish to make. I'll turn this over to staff, but I also want to make sure that the interpreter is with the applicant and we have a proper interpretation going on. So can staff confirm that for me?
Mr. Examiner, actually, we did have an interpreter scheduled and confirmed today. So far, I don't see that they've arrived. So at this point, I would submit how to proceed. Pardon? Oh, okay. I guess they are here. That's good. Just in the nick of time. Maybe if you give us just a moment.
Certainly.
Sir.
I would like the interpreter's name for my records.
She's approaching the podium.
Hello, good evening. My name is Miriam Arellano.
Okay, what was the first name again?
Miriam, M-I-R-A-A-M. M-I-R-I-A-M. Sorry.
That's okay. Mariam. And what was your last name again?
Arellano, A-R-E-L-L-A-N-O.
All right, and you are you a court certified interpreter?
No, I'm a social worker interpreter.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna put you under oath real quick. I just do a quick oath about interpreters. Would you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear that you will truthfully and accurately, to the best of your ability, interpret from English to Spanish and Spanish to English to the person you're assigned to tonight?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And how do you want to interpret? Do you have a headset that you can do this simultaneously, or is this going to be sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph?
I guess maybe sentence by sentence. I didn't know any idea that it was gonna be like that. So there was not description. I am not prepared with anything like.
Okay, so if you could have the person you're going to interpret for come up to the front of the room, there's some chairs right behind you, and sit with you
Okay.
so that then you can interpret.
Yes.
If people are going too fast, then you can stand up or raise a hand so that I can see you as well, and we can move on from that. So,
Okay.
so I'll give you 30 seconds to get all set up down there.
All right. Thank you.
All right, is staff ready?
We are, Mr. Examiner.
All right, given the interpreter, you'll have to take breaks every 2 or 3 sentences to give the interpreter a chance to interpret. So can you state your name for us and then go through your report?
Craig Raymond, Deputy Director for the City of Pasco Community and Economic Development Department.
All right, sir.
So the applicants have submitted an application for a special use permit for a church in the C2 zoning district. The address of the property is 415 West Columbia Street, parcel number 1120411193 in Pasco. And that is lots 25 and 27, block 18, Jerry's Addition. The parcel itself is approximately a quarter acre, just under 0.24. As you can see on the zoning map, the property is zoned C2, as is the bulk of the surrounding property, with the exception of the property to the southwest on the corner of West Columbia and South 4th Avenue. Here's a few pictures of the subject property as it exists currently. The applicant proposes to continue to operate a church within the existing building, which is approximately 10,500 square feet, that had been previously used as a storage facility. Slightly pertinent to this request is that the church has been subject to code enforcement cases in which they were found to be operating a church in the C2 zoning district without the required special use permit. Thankfully, they have applied for the required special use permit, which is why we're here today to consider this request. The specific reason why a special use permit is required is due to the fact that churches are considered an unclassified use in the C2 zoning district. It should be noted that the special use permit application does not provide for the conduct of a community service facilities level 2, which is defined as community service facilities, the level 2 category, include but are not limited to drug abuse and alcoholic treatment centers, halfway houses, charitable organizations, nonprofit service groups, juvenile care and treatment centers, crisis residential centers, correctional work release facilities, correctional institutions, juvenile delinquency homes and facilities, any and all facilities for incarceration or detainment, temporary shelters, emergency housing facilities, community service housing, missions, community kitchens, food banks, and other similar uses which provide social, health, and welfare services for citizens, except any such use which limits the activity solely to organizational or administrative office functions, whereby the actual community services provided elsewhere shall be excluded from this definition. Based on that, staff requests that the hearings examiner consider the staff report, recommended findings and conclusions, any public testimony, and approve the special use permit subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report. And that concludes my presentation, although I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. I do not have any questions. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Yes.
Is she ready? I need to have you come on up to the microphone.
Yes,
Have her
she's
state
ready.
her-
She's
Have her
ready.
state her name and address, please.
¿Puede dar su número y su nombre y su dirección?
Dulce Villanueva, 1021 North Road 44, Pasco, Washington.
Let me get a pen, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't get that name either.
So it's, su dirección. Dulce spells D-U-L-C-E. And last name Villanueva, V-I-L-L-A-N-C-E. No, B-I-L-L-A-N
Oh, let's start over again. B-I-L-L.
L-N-N-U-B-A. It's Villanueva, yeah. And address is 1021 North Road 44 in Pasco.
All right, I'm going to put her under oath. Would you have her raise her right hand?
La va a poner bajo juramento y usted tiene que levantar la mano.
You swear that any testimony you give tonight will be the truth.
Tiene que jurar que el testimonio que va a decir aquí es la verdad.
Sí.
Yes.
And my question is, are you the applicant in this matter?
La pregunta de él es, ¿usted es la aplicante en este asunto?
Sí.
Yes.
All right, what would you like to tell me?
¿Qué le gustaría decirle a él?
Pues que nos gustaría tener ahí el lugar para nuestra iglesia, poder nosotros a través de lo que es lo espiritual ayudar a las personas. Mi esposo y yo fuimos homeless por tiempo pasado, años atrás, muchos años atrás, y gracias a Dios a una iglesia que nos ayudó y oró por nosotros, pudimos salir de la situación de calle. Entonces nosotros también queremos hacer lo mismo en este lugar donde estamos.
La voy a parar un poquito.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
So she's requesting to be able to be at that church, and she's explaining you that her husband and her, they were homeless at some point in their life, and thank God for a church and people that helped them and prayed for them. They were able to get better, and they wanted to do the same. They wanted to give the community back the same things.
All right, you can continue.
Okay, nosotros tenemos más de un año yendo a visitar ahí esa área.
They have, I have more than a year going to visit that area.
Y hemos ayudado a gente. Aquí hay una persona que me acompaña.
And there is people that we have helped, and there is someone here that we did help.
Él
And
estuvo en la calle tirado allí, en ese lugar.
he was homeless there. He was sleeping there with no home.
Y ahora tiene con nosotros ya como 7 meses.
And now he's there with us like for 7 months.
Y está limpio, volvió a su trabajo y
He's
regresó con su
clean. He
familia.
has a job. Now he's with his family.
Y queremos hacer esto con las demás personas que están alrededor, poder ayudar.
And we want to do the same thing with some other people that need that support.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to tell me?
¿Hay algo más que usted quiera decirle?
Pues que nos gustaría que nos dieran el permiso.
They would like for you to give them the permit.
Yes, of course.
Claro que sí.
All right, tell her thank you very much for coming in, and
Gracias por venir.
I'm gonna have the public testify if anybody wants to, and if somebody does, then you need to interpret what the public says,
So, alguien
so
más?
then we can
Okay.
come back to you if we need to.
Okay. So nada más para decir si alguien más quiere testificar.
All right, did any member of the public that is present in person come to testify on this matter?
We have someone, but he speaks English very well. I don't know if I still need to translate or
You need to translate for
her.
For her.
the applicant. Okay, great.
Your name and address, please.
My name is Leonel Guzman, 928 West Marie Street.
What's your first name, sir?
Leonel, Leonel.
Got it. All right, sir, I'll have you raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give today will be the truth?
I do.
All right, sir, what would you like to tell me?
I just, would like to let everybody know that, ever since meeting these people, it's made like a dramatic change in my life. I was lost, from, drugs and making a lot of mistakes in my past, but I'm like really plugged in and connected, and it's changed my life dramatically. There are people that really, really care about people, and and I want to give back to the community what they've done for me too. I'm ready to help, give back,
All right, well, thank you very much for coming in today, and congratulations on your recovery. That is no small feat.
Thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else from the public that wished to testify? That is there in person. Is there anybody online that wished to testify? If so, just unmute yourself and state your name for me. Okay, not hearing anything. Is there anything further from staff?
Nothing further.
All right. Then interpreter, can you let the applicant know that I am closing the record and I will have a written decision made in 10 days?
Okay, she said it's fine.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll turn to the next item on today's agenda. This is an application given PP 2024-001, commonly known as the Peak Towneplace. This is a preliminary plat application for a 73 lot residential subdivision on 8.79 acres to be located in the city of Pasco on property that's more specifically described in the staff report as well as in the application materials. Now, for the record, I'm going to admit into the record at this time by this reference that staff report, all the attachments to the staff report, which included all the application materials, all the noticing documents, all the comments that have come through. There's plat maps, drawings. I'm going to admit all those items. Indeed, I will admit the entire planning staff file into the record at this time by this reference and turn this matter over to staff for their presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Examiner. Again, this is Craig Raymond, Deputy Director, Community and Economic Development for the City of Pasco. ProMade LLC has submitted an application for a 73 lot residential subdivision located on Track 2, Record of Survey, Auditor's File Number 1989287 in Franklin County, Washington. Make it to the right, there we go. Now we can move along the slides, which is on the northwest corner of Road 68 and West Court Street here in Pasco. And the property is comprised of approximately 8.47 acres. The land use and zoning information, the property is zoned R3, which is medium density residential and is unimproved currently. And there's a mix of zoning designations in the surrounding area, as you can see from the map, including RS20 to the north, RS20 and R2, and C1 to the east, R2 and C1 to the south, and R1 to the west. The comp plan designation for the property is both mixed residential, commercial, which allows residential density between 5 to 29 units per acre, dwelling units per acre, and medium density residential, which allows between 60 to 20 units per acre. The proposed density is 8.60 dwelling units per acre. The proposed plat would create 73 lots intended for residential development. Land would be dedicated and developed to provide access to the newly created lots, resulting in creation of 4 new roads and improvements adjacent to Road 68 and West Court Street frontages. The access easement serving the 3 central lots and 2 southeastern lots of the plat would also be improved with hard surfacing. The subdivision will have 2 primary access points, one being from Road 68 and the other being from West Court Street. And no lot created within the proposed plat will be allowed direct access to these roads. The road labeled Denali Lane on the face of the preliminary plat is proposed to extend to the adjacent parcel 118-502-022 so that when that lot is developed, Denali Lane may be further extended. The proposed lots vary in size from 2,467 square feet to 8,827 square feet. All the lots will be provided direct access to the right-of-way, except for those lots I previously mentioned, which are lots 52, 53, 54, 66, and 67, as noted on the preliminary plat that's been submitted. These lots will be accessed from an access easement. All streets within the plat will be required to be constructed to the requirements and standards of the Pasco Municipal Code and Pasco Design and Construction Standards, as is typical, and are proposed to have the required 60-foot right-of-way width for local access streets. The proposed plat also provides for adequate pedestrian circulation within the Plat, as well as connectivity to the surrounding pedestrian network, including a 10-foot pedestrian access easement from Everest Loop to West Court Street between lots 67 and 68. Mr. Hearing Examiner, the staff recommends approval of the Peak Towneplace preliminary plat, adoption of the findings of fact and conditions of approval as per the staff report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I do not have any questions of staff. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative present either in person or online and wish to testify? I'm not seeing any movement in the hearing room, and I'm not seeing anybody unmuting themselves. Is that a fair assessment, Mr. Raymond?
That is accurate.
Was the applicant given notice of the date, place, and time of the hearing?
Yes.
All right, then we'll move on. Did any member of the public come to testify on this matter?
Yeah, I do have a comment.
Okay, just a minute. Thank you very much for jumping in. I wanted to make sure there was nobody that actually took time out of to come down to the hearing. Nobody is jumping up. So, sir, I'll have you state your name and an address for me.
Okay, Larry Andros, 6900 Lamb Court, Pasco.
All right, sir, I'll have you raise your right hand and I'll take your word for it. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give today will be the truth?
Yes.
And again, this is not a question and answer time, so this is time to provide testimony. What would you like to tell me?
I'm just wondering if the city has considered the traffic in that corner. It's already difficult to get out on 68. It's difficult to get out on Court. 73 more lots is going to add a lot of vehicles to that corner, and the access points on 68 and Court are very, very close to the corner. There's a circle there now, a roundabout, and it's just a very high density configuration that they're planning on. So I'm hoping that somebody gave some consideration to the traffic.
All right. Thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Andros?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Did anybody else, either online or in person, wish to testify on this matter? All right. Anything further from staff?
Nothing further.
All right. Thank you very much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close the public record portion of the hearing on this matter, and I will have a written decision made within the next 10 working days. Next item on the agenda is also an application for a preliminary plat approval. It's given application number PP 2024-005. This is an application for a 14-lot residential subdivision on 3.34 acres on property located within the city of Pasco that is more specifically described in the staff report as well as in all the application materials. For the record, I'm going to admit into the record at this time by this reference. I want to make sure that I didn't have anything on this one. I'm going to admit all of the application materials, the noticing documents, the comments that have come through, site plan drawings, photographs. I'm going to admit all those items. Indeed, I will admit the entire planning staff file into the record at this time by this reference. And once again, turn this matter over to staff for their presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hearing Examiner. My name is Jen Ballard. I'm a senior planner with the City of Pasco Community and Economic Development Department. The subject property is located at 990 West Court Street. It's parcel number 118-292-143 in Pasco. It's located south of Star Lane, west of Road 97, north of West Court Street, and east of Road 100. Cody Fielding, the applicant, proposes to subdivide the property that's approximately 3.5 acres into 14 single-family residential building lots that'll be served by a new public road ending in a cul-de-sac. Public notice of this hearing was sent to the property owners within 300 feet of the property on November 25th and published in the Tri-City Herald newspaper on November 27th, 2024. The property was rezoned this October from RS20 to R1, which is low-density residential, to facilitate the subdivision application. The underlying comp plan land use designation for the site is low-density residential, which allows for a density between 3 to 6 dwelling units an acre. Currently, the site is developed with one single-family residence. The proposal contains 4 residential single-family lots that has a mixture of lot sizes, and some lots will be required to be developed with single-family attached housing due to their limited frontage. We also have 1 lot without public frontage that will be assessed via an easement. The project's proposed density is just over 4 dwelling units an acre. The project will involve the construction of the new public road that connects to West Court Street and right-of-way improvements on West Court Street itself along the property's southern boundary. None of the lots will have direct access to West Court Street. If the proposal is approved, fees for domestic and irrigation water rights will be collected prior to the city signing the final plat, and traffic, park, and school impact fees will be collected for each lot prior to the issuance of any dwelling building permits. In conclusion, staff recommends to the hearing examiner that they accept the conditions of approval recommended in the staff report and approve the Alvarado 9903 West Court Street preliminary plat located at 9903 West Court Street on parcel 118-292-143. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Yes.
They can come on up to the front and state their name and address for me.
Yes, sir. My name is Cody Fielding. I live at, that's Cody, C-O-D-Y. Fielding is F-I-E-L-D-I-N-G. And I live at 4004 Road 104, Pasco, Washington.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Fielding. If you could raise your right hand for me. Sir, do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give tonight will be the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. And sir, are you here as an agent authorized to appear and speak on behalf of the applicant and property owner?
I'm the applicant.
Okay. And have you had a chance to review the staff report?
Yes, I have.
Do you have any objection with any of the representations that are set forth within the staff report?
No.
And there's also some proposed conditions of approval. Do you have any objection to any of those?
No.
All right. I'd like to get those out of the way sometime, those questions out of the way. Sir, what would you like to tell me about this project?
I'm not sure if I'm required to provide testimony, but I'm happy to. So we met with the city several months ago to talk about this property. It is situated among some higher density. The land use comp plan designation is low density, which, as Mrs. Ballard explained, allows for 3 to 6 units per acre, and effectively kind of renders useless, I guess, for lack of a better word, the RS20 zoning that surrounds most of this area, and therefore can't really be developed. So I guess we had no alternative but to do the rezone to R1 to get within that 3 to 6 units per acre. I don't know if this is interesting or necessary. It probably is not, but I think it's just part of what we're doing here. The current resident and owner, it's been in the family for several decades, and they're very interested in retaining a certain portion of the property to maintain that legacy in their family. And so what we've been able, but they wouldn't be able to sell it and capture enough, I guess, equity to do that as currently zoned. But so this is sort of a side point, but I think it's still, kind of nice for the project. So what we're going to do is retain some property for her and her family that they can live on site, and then continue their family legacy there, and then develop the rest of the property out as well. And so it gives her the opportunity to kind of maintain that interfamily line. Other than that, I have no other comment unless you have questions for me.
No, I've reviewed everything and I don't have any questions for you. Thank you very much, Mr. Fielding.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn this over to the public now. If there's any member of the public that came to testify on this matter, we'll start with the folks that are present in the hearing room. And I would want to make sure that there's a lot of people out there. You need to know this is not a time for questions or asking questions of staff or the applicant or the hearing examiner. It's a time for you to provide your testimony and evidence. Quite frankly, the most relevant thing for me is how this project does or does not comply with the applicable rules and regulations. So we'll turn it over to the public, those folks that are there in person. Anybody wish to testify on this matter? Okay, not seeing anybody moving. Does anybody online wish to testify on this matter? Whoops, I can't hear you all that well. You got a bad connection.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Can you state your name and address for me? I can't hear you. This isn't going to work. Can't hear you either. No, I can't hear you. If you can't fix this real quick, then what I'm going to do is I'll leave the record open for you to submit whatever written comments you want to make.
Okay.
Well, sometimes I can hear you and sometimes I can't. Can you try it again? Can you state your name for me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just not happening. I'm sorry. I know you're doing the best you can, but it's just, I can't hear you. Well, I heard that.
Oh, isn't that funny? Well, can you hear me now?
Sometimes it just fades in and out. I don't know if you've got a bad internet connection or what it is, but it's not consistent.
We did
So we're not going to be able to do this.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the record open. You can submit a written comment before Friday at 5 p.m. If you'd like to comment. I'm sorry for the technical problem. Was there anybody else online that wished to testify on this particular matter? All right. So what I'm going to do, Mr. Fielding, is I'm going to close the public record portion of the hearing on this matter. I'm not going to close it. I'm going to keep the record open until this Friday, December 13th at 5 p.m. for written comments. I'll close the record at that time unless the applicant wishes me to keep the record open to provide any rebuttal. So you'll just have to let me know by email. Let staff know if you want the record to be kept open for you to submit any additional written comment. But I'll have my written decision made then within 10 working days after the record closes, presumably this Friday. Is that understood, Mr. Fielding?
Yeah, one question. Am I going to see the written comments, if there are any, before I decide to close or retain? Yeah.
Absolutely. Those will be sent. The written comments will be sent to staff. You'll have to send those to Ms. Ballard. If you want to submit your written comments, they have to be there by Friday at 5 p.m. And then the record will close, but if you want it to be reopened to allow you to comment, then on Monday you just need to ask, okay?
Got it. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, we're going to turn to the next item on today's agenda. This is one of the rezone applications. It's given application number Z2024-005. This is a request to rezone property located within the city of Pasco. That's going to be a little bit more described in detail by staff. This is, I'm going to admit into the record the staff report, the application materials, the noticing documents, the comments that have come through. I'll admit all those items. Indeed, I will admit the entire planning staff file into the record at this time by this reference. Once again, this is the only open record public hearing for this matter. If anybody's here on this matter or the next two items on the agenda, again, this is your time to present testimony and evidence as to how the rezone request does or does not meet the criteria set forth within the Pasco Municipal Code. And when I make a recommended decision, one way or the other, it'll go in front of City Council, and there won't be any more testimony allowed there. It will be a staff presentation summarizing where we're at, and then City Council will make the final decision. So is staff ready to proceed on this matter?
Yes, sir.
All right. And just identify yourself, and we can move on.
Jen Ballard, Senior Planner with the City of Pasco.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and this rezone application is Z2024-005 for the Grove at Broadmoor, requesting RT residential transition to be rezoned to R4 high density residential. The proposal concerns lots 7 and 31 of record of survey filed under Franklin County Auditor's number 1986333. It's parcels 115-210-052 and 115-210-057 respectively. They're located on the south side of Burns Road, east of Road 112 and west of Road 108. The applicant proposes to rezone these two parcels, which total approximately 11.96 acres, in anticipation of subdividing the property into 94 single-family residential building lots and park and related infrastructure tracts and various roads. Public notice of this hearing was sent to property owners within 300 feet of the property on November 25th and published in the Tri-City Herald newspaper on November 27th, 2024. The subject properties were annexed into the city via Ordinance 3305 in August 1998 and subsequently assigned the RT residential transition zoning designation via Ordinance 3506. RT zoning is a zoning that tends to be given to annexed properties that are vacant, that at this point there isn't a plan of what to do with that area. So the zoning was given to this property was prior to the Broadmoor Master Plan, and this area is in the Broadmoor Master Planned area now that was recently adopted. For example, RT allows for residential density of 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres, so very low density, which is not in conformance with the underlying Broadmoor Master Plan land use designation for the site, which is medium density residential, which allows for a residential density of 6 to 20 dwelling units an acre. And the zoning that can be assigned to medium density residential land use designations are R2, R3, R4, or RP zoning districts. So you see that the RT zoning district is not one that is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. Developed properties in the vicinity are zoned R1, R3, and R4. And so basically to do any kind of development that meets the minimum required density for the city of Pasco, the property has to be rezoned. And even though this rezone is part of a larger project, which is the Grove at Broadmoor preliminary plat, this hearing is just about the rezone request, and any subsequent development projects that are in review, they will be reviewed separately. And so the staff recommends that rezone from RT to R4 for parcels 115 to 10052 and 115 to 10057, located on the south side of Burns Road, be recommended to City Council for approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Yes. Online.
Nice. Oh, okay. Sir, can you state your name for the record?
Sure. It's Scott Shoemaker. It's Shumaker. I'm with PBS Engineering. Address is 4412 South Corbett Avenue in Portland, Oregon.
All right, thank you, sir. I'm gonna have you raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give today will be the truth?
I do. And I'm the applicant's representative, by the way.
All right, I was just gonna ask you that. All right, sir. What I don't want to talk about, because you may be planning now, may not be what happens. I'm not worried about, that's not a criteria as to what your plans might be for the property. I just need to know what you want to tell me about how this rezoned conforms to the code, if you want to provide any additional testimony.
Staff did a great job and we actually have nothing to add, Mr. Examiner.
So you agree with all the representation set forth within the staff report?
Yes, we do.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, if there is any public testimony, I'll give you the chance to submit whatever rebuttal you'd like to. Did any member of the public come to testify on this matter? Anybody in person? All right, I don't see anybody moving. The folks online I know of. So no public testimony. Is there anything further from staff, Ms. Ballard?
No, sir.
So what I'm going to do, Mr. Schumacher, is I'm going to close the public record portion of the hearing on this matter, and I'll have my written recommended decision within the next 10 working days.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So the next item on today's agenda is also a zone change application, given application number Z2024-006. This is also an application for a rezone. This one is from RS12 to R1. It also relates to property located within the city of Pasco on property that's more specifically described in the staff report as well as in all those application materials. For the record, I will admit into the record at this time by this reference that staff report, all the attachments to that staff report, which included all the application materials, all the noticing documents, all the maps and drawings and comp plan maps. There's been public comments and agency comments that have been submitted. I will admit all those items. Indeed, I will admit the entire planning staff file into the record at this time by this reference and turn this matter over to staff for their presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hearing Examiner. This is Jen Ballard again with the City of Pasco. First, I want to apologize if I mispronounce anybody's name. This application was brought forth by Mr. Alberto Marquin to rezone a total of 2.25 acres of land from RS12 suburban to R1 low density residential. The properties are all located on Road 64. It's 3 properties, which is 910 Road 64, which is parcel 119-670-022, 1002 Road 64, parcel 119-670-021, and parcel 119-663-053, which is unaddressed. They're all located on the west side of Road 64, south of West Murray Street, and just north of the terminus, the southern terminus of Road 64. The purpose of this rezone was to be able to subdivide the 3 parcels into smaller residential lots for residential development, and then sale. Public notice of this hearing was sent to property owners within 300 feet of the property on November 25th and published in the Tri-City Herald newspaper on November 27th of 2024. The subject properties were assigned the RS-12 zoning in 2002 via Ordinance 3533 when they were annexed into the city. The underlying comprehensive plan land use designation for the site is low density residential, which allows for a density between 3 and 6 dwelling units of an acre, and allowing for zoning designations of RS20, RS12, RS1, R1, R1A, R1A2. So RS12 and R1 zoning have the same minimum and maximum density, but R1 zoning allows for significantly smaller minimum lot sizes and more variation in lot sizes and building types. So the existing zone of RS12 requires 1,200 square feet per lot, and each lot then can be developed with up to 3 dwelling units. And so just to compare what you would get with RS12 zoning and R1 zoning, say on the southernmost lot in this proposal is approximately half an acre in size. Under RS12 zoning, the property is not large enough to be subdivided, but you can build 3 detached dwelling units on that lot. So 3 units on 1 lot. And if the lot was rezoned to R1, the property could be subdivided to a maximum of 3 residential lots. But on those lots, there's only enough density to build 1 dwelling unit per lot. So you get the same number of homes, just more lots with R1. And staff would like to note that the proposed rezone does not include a project action. So at this time, there has been no subdivision or a building permit submitted for these lots. The applicant wants to attempt a rezone before considering their future plans. But any future land use or development proposals will be required to adhere to Pasco Municipal Code. So in conclusion, staff recommends that 910 Road 64, parcel 119-670-022, 1002 Road 64, parcel 119-670-021, and parcel 119-663-053 on Road 64 be recommended to City Council to be rezoned from RS12 suburban to R1 low density residential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have you state your name and address for me, please.
Christy Battaiola, 2104 West 51st Avenue, Kennewick. And I'm the
So how's the Christie spelled?
Christy.
All right, and how do you spell your last name?
Battaiola, that's Batayola.
All right, and did you provide an address? I forget, I was focused on your name.
Yes, I did.
All right, could you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give tonight will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You are here as an agent authorized to appear and speak on behalf of the applicant, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right, what would you like to tell me?
I think that the city actually did a very good job on their presentation. The goal with this is to be able to subdivide these parcels in a way that will match that density. So every residence that's built would be able to have its own lot and be able to promote home ownership as opposed to just rentals on those lots.
All right, that's the future plan, but anything else you'd like to say about how this Yeah, I guess you're just adopting the staff's position on how it's consistent with the city code.
Correct, correct. It's just staying within what the comprehensive plan allows. It's one of the allowed zoning codes for the low density residential. And just allows the smaller lot size to match that minimum, the 3 to 6 units per acre density.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think this was a good move for this particular property.
All right, thank you very much for coming in today. Turn this over to the public now. Is there any member of the public that came to testify on this matter? If so, you just need to come forward and state your name and address for me.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Franzik, and I am representing Basin Disposal, the local garbage company.
How do you spell your last name?
Franzik.
Okay, I'll have you raise your right hand for me, please. And do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give today will be the truth?
I do.
And you said you're here for Basin Disposal? Is that correct? All right, what would you like to tell me?
So as a company, we do not oppose the rezone, but we are looking at the way the lot is configured, and there is only one access road, which is Road 64. And the applicant has said they want to subdivide the lots into 3 units. And we have concerns that 2 of the 3 units won't be able to receive garbage service unless they haul their garbage all the way out to Road 64.
Well, okay. Yeah, that's probably something that's more appropriately going to have to be talked about if and when a project application is submitted. But I appreciate you coming out here tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that wish to testify on this matter? All right. I don't know if, first of all, is there anything further from staff?
There's one person coming up.
No. Okay.
Hi there, my name's Christy Gomez.
How do you spell your name?
CHRISTI GOMEZ.
All right, and an address for you?
909 North Road 64, Pasco.
All right, thank you. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give tonight will be the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And what would you like to tell me?
If we could pull up one of those maps that shows the actual lots. Yeah, so this whole residential area is already pretty much developed out except for these few lots here. And all of the current home properties that are already single family residential properties, most of them are an acre, a half acre, and maybe some on the backside are a quarter of an acre. But to take just a donut hole in the middle of an already developed property and change it to something completely inconsistent with the way the neighborhood is already developed, to me just seems not appropriate for maintaining the neighborhood as it is.
All right, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, last call. Anybody else from the public wish to testify on this matter? Is there anything further from staff?
No, sir.
And is there anything further from the applicant? You can shake your head no if you don't want to come up. If you do want to come on up, come on up. Okay, nothing further from the applicant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the public record portion of this hearing, and I will have my recommended decision made within the next 10 working days. Last item we have tonight is also a zoning rezone request, Z 2024-008. And this is a request to rezone from RT to MU. This relates to property located within the city of Pasco that is more specifically described in the staff report as well as in all the application materials. And for the record, I will admit into the record at this time and by this reference, that staff report, all the attachments to the staff report, which included all the application materials, all the noticing documents. There are site plans, not site plans, but maps, zoning maps, comprehensive plan maps. Excuse me. I'm going to admit all those items. Indeed, I will admit the entire planning staff file into the record at this time by this reference and turn this matter over to staff for their presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hearing Examiner. This is Jen Ballard again with the City of Pasco. This project concerns the
Mr. Examiner, we're going to pause just for a moment so we can clear the room. There's a little bit of activity going on. I think we're just going to pause until people file out. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. For the, it's not bothering me, but if the folks that are talking there are bothering staff, I can have them move outside.
Oh no, it's fine. The last item was very popular. Lots of people came
Okay.
to observe.
All right. Please proceed, Ms. Ballard.
Okay. Again, this is item Z2024-008. It's the Broadmoor Aquatic Facility rezone request from RT residential transition to MU mixed use. The proposal concerns lot 34 of record of survey filed under Franklin County Auditor's file number 1989509, parcel 115210219, that's located north of Harris Road on the west side of Road 108, which has yet to be constructed in that area, and also south of Sandifer Parkway, which is also yet to be constructed in that area. The applicant, Matt Walsh of the Pasco Public Facilities District, proposes to rezone that 13-acre parcel of land from RT residential transition to MU mixed use. For two reasons. First, the rezone request was initiated because RT is not in compliance with the comprehensive plan land use designation in that area of mixed residential commercial, while MU is in compliance. And just like we spoke of before, RT is really a placeholder zone for large tracts of undeveloped land when there isn't a plan for them. This area became part of the Broadmoor Master Plan recently. And additionally, the second point for the rezone request is that the proposed Broadmoor Aquatic Facility, the design exceeds the 35-foot height limit for RT-zoned non-mixed use buildings in the Broadmoor land use designation of mixed residential and commercial. The public notice of this hearing was sent to property owners within 300 feet of the property on November 25th and published in the Tri-City Herald newspaper on November 27th in 2024. The subject property was annexed into the city via Ordinance 2388 in 1982. And that's when the RT zoning designation was assigned via Resolution 1396. The underlying Broadmoor Master Plan land use designation for the site is mixed residential and commercial. The allowed zoning districts for mixed residential and commercial land use designations are mixed use, C1, R3, and R4 zoning districts. Obviously, RT is not among them and therefore not in compliance. And if a building is not mixed use on land within the Broadmoor land use designation of mixed residential and commercial, the height of the building is instead regulated by the underlying zone of the property. And so RT has a height limit of 35 feet. The future Broadmoor Aquatic Facility, which at this point has not been applied for, it's just in its conceptual phase at the moment, would exceed that height limit. And exceeding that height limit can be approved by special permit. But given that this is a large piece of property, that the plan is to develop it fully over the next, X number of years, that it makes more sense at this time to just go ahead and change or to request a rezone that would allow the full use of this property. And in the mixed use zone, commercial, office, education, and government uses have a height limit of 85 feet. So if this if this rezone to MU is approved, then the applicant wouldn't then pursue a special permit for increasing the height of this building once it's actually been proposed. And staff would like to note that a grading permit for the site has been issued. This permit is in anticipation of the eventual submittal of a building permit for the Broadmoor Aquatic Facility, but no building permit for that facility has been submitted yet, and any subsequent development projects submitted for review will be required to adhere to the Pasco Municipal Code. So in conclusion, staff recommends that the parcel 115-210-219 be rezoned from RT to MU.
All right, thank you very much. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative present tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Examiner. Matt Watkins, Pasco Public Facilities District Executive Director, MATTWATKINS.
All right, sir, I'll have you raise your right hand for me, and thank you for your patience. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that any testimony you give tonight will be the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you very much. What was your title again? That kind of went off fast.
I'm Executive Director for the Pasco Public Facilities District. I represent the Board of Directors, 5 members. They've specifically asked by motion for me to pursue a rezone of this property.
Got it. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Sir, what would you like to tell me?
The staff, I think, did an excellent job, other than last name being Watkins. Not Walsh, but that's minor, obviously. Everything else is correct and is in the application. Pasco has done a good job at summarizing that the notion that we switching this from an RT transitional zoning to mixed use will be more consistent with the way we intend to develop the property. Of course, nothing's been developed yet other than what has been talked about as a grading permit, and we see coming down the pike a height issue. I also, in the application, would note too that I did look up the comprehensive plan as well as the Broadmoor plan, and for example, one of the consistencies is to ensure adequate public facilities, to encourage development of recreational opportunities, promote tourism and recreational opportunities that I believe the aquatics facility is going to accomplish.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Turn it over to the public. Are there any member of the public there that wish to testify on this matter? Seeing any movement? Anything further, Ms. Ballard?
No, sir.
All right, folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the public record portion of this hearing. I'll have my written recommended decision issued within the next 10 working days. That was the last item on this rather extensive agenda. So I'm now going to adjourn this still December 11th, 2024 meeting of the Pasco Hearing Examiner. I hope everybody does have a very Merry Christmas or Happy Holiday and safe New Year's. And I look forward to seeing everyone next year. This meeting's adjourned.